3 messages before today's interview educates and motivates you. First, if you're a domain name investor, don't you have unique legal needs that require domain name technical know-how and industry experience? That's why you need David Westlow of Wiley Ryan. Go search for David Westlow on Domain Sherpa, watch his interview, and you can see for yourself that he can clearly explain issues, can help you with buy-sell agreements, deal with website content issues and UDRP actions, and even help you write your website terms and conditions. David Westlow is the lawyer to call for internet legal issues. See for yourself at newmediaip.com. Second, managing multiple domain name marketplace and auction site accounts is a pain. Inevitably, you forget to sign into one and you lose a great domain, or worse. Now imagine using a single, simple to use and comprehensive control panel to manage all of your accounts. That's Protrata. You can set up search filters, analyze domains, automate bidding, list domain names for sale, buy domains across all major marketplaces. Protrata also has a new semantic engine that builds Google-friendly websites with rich content and network feeds. Sign up at protrata.com to get 20 free credits and start building and monetizing your domains today. Finally, if you have questions about domain names, where should you go to ask them? The answer is dnforum.com. Not only is DN Forum the largest domain name forum in the world, it's the best. You can learn about domain names and the industry, buy and sell domain names, talk about the domain name news that's happening in the industry, and even meet domainers just like yourself. Register for a free DN Forum account and begin advancing your skills and knowledge today. And when you do sign up, send me a friend request so we can connect on DN Forum. Here's your program. Hey everyone, my name is Michael Seiger and I'm the publisher of DomainSherpa.com, the website where you come to learn how to become a successful domain name entrepreneur and investor directly from the experts. Just before the housing bubble popped in 2008, we formally entered into a recession. There were a lot of people making money on the internet with websites that were made for Google AdSense using exact match domain names. The idea was simple. Buy an exact match domain name like lowinterestcreditcards.com, build a website, do some search engine optimization to get it to the top of Google and other search engines, place some Google AdSense on the site, and hope that people click on the links for advertising when they come to your website. Since then, we all know that Google has implemented search engine ranking algorithm changes called Panda and Penguin, and they continue to do so on a regular basis, and has made claims that exact match domain names aren't worth as much value in search engine rankings as it used to. It's 2011, and if you missed the early days, you're out of luck. Or are you? Today we're joined by Mike Thomas from MikeFromMaine.com, where niche websites with exact match domain names are built, ranked, monetized, and offered for sale. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here, Michael.
So, where are you from, Mike?
Oh, wow. I'm originally from Bangor, Maine, but I'm currently living in Istanbul, Turkey.
All right. And I appreciate you staying awake. It's midnight in Istanbul.
Oh, yeah,
well, but, you know, it's Europe, so you don't even get ready to go out for the night until 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock.
Exactly.
Great. Well, thanks for making yourself available at midnight. So,
No worries.
Mike, in your own words, what is the MikeFromMaine.com business model?
Yeah, MikeFromMaine.com, actually, it started out as just a personal blog of mine, and it developed more into a way for me to keep track of the AdSense sites that I was making, the different sites I was making, the costs that I had, the revenue that was coming in from those. And it developed from there into a way of explaining kind of to other people exactly how I was doing this. And by explaining to other people, I was able to, in a way, go back through my own process and tweak what I was doing myself. So Mike from Maine, what is it? It's a place for people to learn how to make AdSense niche sites and learn how to flip them and make money from them. 2, it's a place where if you don't want to make the sites yourself, if you don't want to go through the process of learning how to do this, buying all the tools, you can just buy a site directly from me. And three, it's becoming more of a way for me to diversify my income. What I'm trying to do is, as I'm developing my own internet marketing portfolio, I'm bringing my readers along with me to share the journey and to learn from my mistakes and my successes. Therefore, that's why I've recently started to do a show, kind of like yours, Michael, where I interview other people that are making money online and trying to learn from them, and at the same time sharing that with my readers.
And that makes perfect sense. And I've gone to your website, and I've got a bunch of pages printed out over here on the side where I'm going to make reference to them later
Sure.
in the interview. And I saw that there aren't any paywalls. You don't require me to sign up in order to watch the step-by-step how to choose a domain name, how to set up a niche website, things like that. How do you make money if you're bringing all these people along with you for the journey?
Well, the way I think of that is that if you create that paywall, then you're gonna immediately close off so many people from even coming in and seeing what you have to offer. So especially when I was first starting out, people didn't know who I was. Who is Mike from Maine? Just another person on the internet trying to make money. So what I did was I tried to make everything readily available to people. And by doing that, I can explain, for example, I explain how to do keyword research. And in the video on how to do keyword research, underneath it, I have links to different products that I use myself. There's one thing called Longtail Pro, which is a keyword research tool that helps you find exact match domains that are available.
Right.
So I use that myself. And I show how I use it myself. And if someone comes and clicks on that link and signs up for it, then I'm going to receive an affiliate commission. It's not going to cost them any more than it normally would, but as a sort of a payment to me and as a thanks to me, I get a commission from it.
Makes perfect sense. So I'm looking at the tools I use to make niche websites, which is a page from your website, and I can see you use WP Goldmine, you use Longtail Pro, WP Twin, you use a theme for WordPress called CTR theme, you use Social Adder. So anytime somebody clicks those and signs up, those companies make some money. They use a tracking URL provided to you, and you make a commission. So
Exactly.
So full disclosure, you're making commissions off of all those links, and people can click them or not click them. It's their choice, but we just want to let people know.
Yeah, and if they want to just type in the service in their browser, go ahead. You don't have to go through my affiliate links, but I put those options there for people, and if they want to click them, they can.
You bet. How long have you been operating MikeFromMaine.com?
Well, that's an interesting question. I've been operating as a way of selling niche sites. I've been operating it since February 2011 is when I first started tracking my journey of niche site creation.
Makes sense.
It's really only come into becoming a profitable website since probably March of this year. And that's because I started selling the sites that I had made through AdSense. I started listing them for sale on my site. And once I started doing that, once I started creating the videos that were showing people how I was doing it, that's when it kind of started to explode.
Yeah, and we'll go over some of those, and I can see that you make most of your revenue in any given month because you're into full disclosure as well, and you actually have a page on your website where you update everybody on your revenue and expenses, so people can look at your total revenue, your expenses to generate that revenue, and then your profit line. So we'll get into that because I have some questions for you about that. How many niche websites do you typically build in any given month?
It can vary, anywhere from 20 to 100. I think the most I've ever done is about
100.
20 to 100, and I think the most I've ever done in a month is probably 150, and that was quite a busy month.
So 150, you're essentially building 5 websites a day.
And when you say you're essentially building 5 websites a day, I need to make it clear that I have a system where I outsource pretty much everything. I outsource the keyword research, I outsource the WordPress website creation, I outsource link building, content, pretty much everything. I'm more the manager and supervisor. I go in and kind of make sure that everything's running smoothly.
Mhm.
So I'm not actually sitting down in my office every day making these sites, but I'm watching over.
Got it. All right. And on most of these sites, let's see here, I printed off a list of all the websites that you have listed on your website, Mike. Are these all the websites in your portfolio, or are these only the ones that you're listing for sale?
The ones on my sites for sale page, those are only the ones that I'm listing for sale.
Okay.
And on that page, I list the sites by how much they made in AdSense for the last 30 days. And plus, if you look up in the AdWords keyword tool, what the keyword, how many searches that keyword should get a month, what the cost per click is,
The
and all that.
competition, whether there's brand. Yep. Yeah. Okay. And so, how many sites do you typically, or how many sites are in your portfolio today, would you say?
I think it's around, I took a look at it before the interview. I think it's around 650.
Wow. Okay. So 650, and you probably have, oh, I don't know, 100 or to 200 listed for sale. Is that a good
I
estimate?
checked, and I checked out how many that I've sold so far, and I've sold about 100 websites since I guess March or April when I started selling.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, and so we'll get into the tactics that you use to sell those websites as well, because it seems like you've been pretty successful in doing that. I know that there are a ton of domain name investors that don't understand how to build sites that would love to be able to sell 100 domain names since March 2012. All right, so we talked about how many you build on average, how many you have in your portfolio, how many you own for sale. What about domain names? If I look at the 650 total websites that you have developed, do you have 650 domains, or do you own a lot more domains that are just waiting to be developed out?
Of all those domains that I've mentioned, the 650, those are all websites. So each one has WordPress installed on it, has a theme, content, at least one page of content. Most of my sites are only one post, and they have a privacy page, an about page, a contact, and one post of content, 750 to 850 words on them. So no, I don't have just regular domains with no content on them. I have websites.
Got it. All right. Okay, so let's talk about the process from beginning to end, because you outsource every single step. But let me ask you about the outsourcing. Do you outsource the keyword research that finds the niche and the domain name to one person, then you outsource the article writing to another person, and then the website creation to another person? Or is there one person that handles A to Z for you?
What I've done is I've kind of created a factory line. So I've got one person that I've trained through videos. I've trained him and I bought for him Longtail Pro. And what he does is he follows my video instructions and does exactly what I would do if I was doing the research. He does it, and then he reports back to me by putting them all in a Google Docs spreadsheet. So he puts that in a Google Docs spreadsheet, and I can just go and check in and see how much work he's doing. So for that's one person. Another person, after we've chosen the domain name, I go in and I use a free system called Trello. I would really recommend it to anyone. It's completely free.
Trello.com.
Yeah, I don't
It's
know if you've heard of
by the gentleman that came up with the Fog Creek website and Fog Bugs.
Really?
Yeah, great system.
It's an awesome system. It's so simple, which is why I love it, and I use it for my process. Anyways, I go in there and I'll put that domain into that system, and then another person will come and they'll see the domain there, and they have access to my HostGator and my GoDaddy account and everything, and they go in and they'll make the WordPress site. Now there's another person that I have hired that's an article writer. They'll come in and they'll see, okay, that keyword, that domain there needs to have an article written for it. They'll write an article for it, and they'll attach it to the card in Trello. Then the WordPress setup person will put the article on, and then it will get moved along. If you know Trello at all, maybe you should include a link to it.
Yeah.
It's a card system where it's kind of like you move from left to right until the process is completed. So that card will get moved on to the next step where link building will get started by another person, and then another person does another part of link building. So I've got it, people working on websites. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 6 people getting it from start to finish.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. So it's basically just a simple 6-step or so process where you take it from keyword research to completed website and link building in order to get it to rise up the search engine rankings. Very simple. You've created videos for every single step in order to give them the instructions at every single step. And it sounds like you sign into Trello or you sign into Google Docs and look at the shared document for research, and you are able to approve or not approve the certain steps. I do not like this domain name because I'm from the US and I realize that that has, wrong connotations, for example. So do not move forward on this domain name and move forward on this one.
Yeah, exactly. And they usually, because my system is, I explain it really well to them. They usually, that domain name that I won't even make it to there. So it will already be taken out. I'll give them feedback and they'll use that feedback for further research.
Right. Understood. So you have, let's say, 6 outsource providers. Do you use the same people every single time?
No, for the website creation process, same person. Keyword research, same person. But writers, I found that when trying to find people to write articles, it can be, if you're doing it in bulk, it's really hard to find a person that's going to be there for you all the time or that's not going to burn out. And I don't want to play I don't want to play cat and mouse and going after them and trying to get them to come and do the articles. So what I've done is through Odesk, I've just gone in and hired, I think I have 20 article writers. And what happens is they all have access to Trello. And when I put up new domains in Trello, I'll buy 50 websites and I'll put them up there. And they're waiting for an article to be written. The article writers will come in and assign themselves to the articles. And once one person has assigned themselves, then another person can't take the article. So pretty much it's on if you want to do it, if you want to make money, you can. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to. But it works out really, really well as far as getting the article turnaround I usually get it within 12 to 24 hours, each one I put up.
Yeah. Okay. And so doesn't Odesk require you to actually put the job into their system to have people bid on it? How do you manage the 2 separate systems? You've got Odesk where people actually record what they're working on and how much you're going to pay them and when the work is done and approved. And then you've got Trello, which is your system to manage the workflow.
What I do is in Odesk, it's set up so that when they apply for the job, I tell them for every article you complete, I'll pay you a certain amount of money. With the Odesk fees, I pay $4.44 for each 750 to 850 word article. So every week they go into Trello, they do their articles, and on every Monday they send me an email with a list of the articles that they've done. And on that Monday, I'll go and check and see, okay, they've done 5 articles. I go into Odesk and then I pay them.
Okay, makes perfect sense. $4.44 per article.
What can I say? It's not a huge amount of money, but also the article quality. I don't go in and ask for. I'm not expecting them to be writing amazing content here. This is content that's going to be used for an AdSense niche site. That is pretty much the purpose of these sites isn't to be beautiful. It's not to be artistic. It's to make money with Google AdSense.
Okay. So so I'm not judging what you're doing, Mike. I'm just trying to clarify the whole purpose of this website is not to educate the reader that comes to this website. The whole purpose is to make money for the owner of the website.
In a way, yes. In a way, no. The thing is, if you go and you put up just complete garbage, then you're eventually that website's going to be, if that gets a manual check by Google AdSense or Google search, it's going to get taken down and slapped. But all my articles are written by native English speakers. So I don't have people from India or the Philippines writing in English as a second language or whatnot. So it's going to be real normal speech English. At the same time, some of my sites, I'll give you an example of something. It's blue screwdriver. Blue screwdriver. How much can you write for the keyword blue screwdriver? What can you really write about that? You know what I mean?
Right.
And you have, if you have a website that's bluescrewdriver.com and you have to write an 850 word article about blue screwdrivers, it's hard to really create something that's going to be great for the end user. But if you talk about the different screwdrivers on the market, the ones that are blue, if someone's searching for a blue screwdriver and you tell them, hey, Black & Decker makes a blue screwdriver and you can get it here, blah, 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 I guess you're providing a service for them. But if you want to talk about ones that are, I'll give you a real life example, moneyorderonline.net, which is a site that I sold on Flippa. That website, if you go and check it out, it talks about how to get a money order online. Now, it doesn't give you a link to go and get a money order online, but there are advertisements there. They're going to lead you in the direction that you want to go in. It's going to lead you to a place where you can get a money order online.
Yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with that.
Okay. So what do you know about Google trying to delist made for Google AdSense websites? And how has your business been impacted by that?
I think for every site that I make, I have an image on my site. I have unique content. All the content is completely unique. It's not that garbage auto blog content. So, and I put a header, a unique header for every site that I have. So I try to make it look pretty. I try to make it at least unique. As far as Google not liking made for AdSense sites, I don't believe it, because I think that any website or most websites that people are making where they're putting AdSense on them, they're made for AdSense. They're making them with a specific reason of making money from AdSense. Now, that being said, if you have your website and on the page it's at the top it's just all AdSense and then jargled text, and you know the difference. I mean, you've been to sites where you said, okay, this is a site that's making money from AdSense, but I'll take a look at it, or this is a site that's complete garbage and I'm clicking back. If it's complete garbage, people are smart enough to click back, and you're not going to make money from that site.
Right. But aren't you worried because you're only developing one page of content on many of your websites that they are going to be the one site click and then they click back, which Google then records and will somehow, demote you over time?
You're talking about bounce rate?
Correct.
Okay. I guess the bounce, I mean, with a low bounce, with a high bounce rate, site might lose some rankings. It might not rank as well. But for the keywords that I'm going for in general, I'm not trying to rank for keywords like weight loss or lose weight now. I'm not trying to, it's the keywords that I'm trying to rank for are ones that don't have very much competition in Google, that don't have very much written about them already. So there's nothing else really there for people to search for.
Okay.
So Google, go ahead and push it down a little bit, but there's not really that far to push it down most of the time.
All right, let's take a look at one of your websites, because I think it's a great example of what you have been able to do. Let's see here. So one of the websites that you sold on Flippa on September 12th, 2011, so just recently, was CartierEyeglasses.net. So CARTIER, Cartier eyeglasses, which are a popular brand name of eyeglasses. You bought the .net. And if people want to go check out that, they can go to bit.ly.com/Cartier Cartier eyeglasses, and that's a quick link to the long URL. So how did you find that Cartier eyeglasses was a niche that was worthwhile to purchase a domain name and develop?
Good question. How did I find that domain? I didn't find that domain, Michael. That would be my worker finding that domain. They would have used the Longtail Pro software, gone in there, randomly typed in different words that they think that people are searching for that have commercial intent. So they probably went in there and typed in something to do with glasses. And they ended up finding that domain. It was available with high searches, high CPC, AdWords, click-through. And then we went ahead and built the website.
Okay, let me stop you right there, Mike. So it was, I did the research just before we got on the air. If you go to Google and you type in Cartier eyeglasses, there's 339,000 total records in Google's index. So a decent amount, but it's not a billion, and it's not 10. There are, if you go to Google's AdWord keyword tool, you can see that there's 1,300 exact match searches for the keyword phrase Cartier eyeglasses in the US, and the average cost per click is $1.46. So, you know, a lot of people, prior guests on Domain Sherpa have said, make sure you target a niche that has at least 1,000 exact match, not general match, not, you know, wide match, but exact match keyword, and make sure it's over $1. So you seem to have done that. What specifications do you give to your researcher when it comes to niches in terms of exact match search volume and cost per click?
Usually, as a rule, if it's a cost for the formula that I use is the cost per click value multiplied by the local exact match searches times 0.01. And what that value will give you is the SEO value for the domain. Now, what I usually try to do is have that be a 10 or higher, meaning that if I do rank for it and I do start getting, if I can rank on the first page of Google and I start getting clicks for it, then they're going to be enough, they're going to be high enough to make me money, and it's going to be enough volume, enough search volume, so that it's worth my time doing it.
Okay, so that makes sense. So it's CPC times local exact match, and local being United States if you're targeting people in the United States, local being Turkey if you're targeting people in Turkey.
In general, I always look at United States.
Okay. And then times 0.01 or 1%, and that'll give you the SEO value. And actually, if you take 1,000 United States local exact match searches and you multiply it by $1 cost per click and you multiply it by 0.01, which is your formula, it comes out to 10. So you're targeting 10 or higher.
Exactly.
All right. It makes perfect sense.
I mean, that in that case, if something has 500 searches, but it has a $2 cost per click, then you can still go for that.
Right. Definitely.
But and some people will say, no, if it's below 1,000, don't go for it. But you have to keep in mind the cost per click at the same time.
Definitely. Now, other people have pointed out that Google's average cost per click that they provide through the Google AdWords system doesn't necessarily match up with what's displayed on their website. So if I go type in a search keyword phrase and it says the average cost per click is $3, and then I go to Google and type in the exact same phrase, there's no advertisements listed at all. Do you check for that sort of issue?
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'll go and check that out. What I usually look at is I try to make sure that there's advertising competition in the AdWords keyword tool. Now, what a lot of people will do is they look at the competition section when they're looking up the keyword in AdWords, and they think that's the SEO competition. They think that that's how hard it will be to rank a website on the first page of Google, but that really has nothing to do with that. That's how many people are competing to bid for that keyword. So if that's got medium to high competition, then I'll go for it. If it has low competition, I tend to stay away from it.
Makes perfect sense. All right, so your researcher will go out and depending on what they're feeling like and what they saw on TV or what kind of searches they're doing that led them to other searches, they will find a niche like eyeglasses that people have a need for on a regular basis that has a decent cost per click in traffic, and they'll start to look for the exact phrase that they should go after. Now, this phrase, for example, Cartier eyeglasses, are you worried that when trademarks are involved in a domain name, Mike?
Am I worried? No, because of all the domain names that I've registered, which is I guess over 700 now, I'd say that I get about a 3% rate of getting an email from someone complaining that I'm using their trademark. And if I do get that email, I'll usually just go ahead and give them the domain back. It's in the beginning when I first started getting them, I would kind of go back and forth with them. I've received $100 from people for the websites before just to give them back, but usually I just get rid of the pain and just say, okay, here, I'll either cancel the domain or I'll transfer it to them, and it's done.
Have you ever been submitted as a UDRP case?
I did, and I had that happen to me one time. And what happened with that is they submitted it to my registrar. I think it was GoDaddy, and my credit card automatically got charged. I think it was $30 or $50 or something. It was an automatic fee, and so I automatically lost that. And then their lawyers contacted me, and I just said, okay, fine, I'll give up the domain. They did I think it's called a stay on the UDRP, and I said, I'll give it up. They said, fine, take it. We'll stop the UDRP, and it was over within a couple weeks.
So there was no actual decision from the UDRP. It sounded like you handled it before it even got assigned to a panel.
Yeah, and I knew I was going to lose. They had complete the trademark and the brand. It would have just been. I mean, I have no foot to stand on when it comes to that, and I know that when I bought domains. But for me, when I initially register a trademark domain, usually it's within the first 1 month to 3 months that I'll get contacted by them.
Yeah.
Usually first start to rank for it, and they do their own search for the trademark. Oh, who is this coming up in the search engines?
Right.
And then I get a message from them. But it's not, if it doesn't happen within the first 1 to 3 months, it usually happens.
Yeah. All right. And so you buy the domain, and I see that at least the domains that I've seen, Mike, most of them are .net. Do you have an affinity for .net that you just say if it's not available in .net, don't buy a domain name to your contractor, or do you take any domain name that's available, the .org, the .me, the .cc?
Usually if the .com is available, I'll take the .com. After .com, .net. After .net, .org. So it's not that I have an affinity for .net. I have no affinity for, actually, I guess I would have an affinity over the .org. So that might be why that there would be more .nets and .orgs. But
okay.
If I find the .coms, I would take them, but they're usually not available.
And if all three of those extensions, those TLDs are taken, then you move on to another keyword phrase?
Well, I don't have any websites with or HQ or info or whatever on the end of them. It's all .com, .net, and .org.
Why is that? Why won't you go for a .info that indicates that you're providing information about that topic?
In my experience, I've had a .info before. No, it was a .us. I've never used .infos to try. I've never tried it. I mean, that could be something that someone could go out and do a case study and try to see if they can get those to rank just as well. But it just seems like .net, .com, and .org are just they're just more likely to rank.
Okay.
My experience.
From your experience, yeah. Okay. Let's see here. So we talked about your search engine threshold. I went to CartierEyeglasses.net, and I could see that it doesn't have that many pages on the website, just like you described earlier. I went to Google and I typed in site colon CartierEyeglasses.net, and it shows 7 pages in the index. So basically, it's the one page that you assign to a writer, and the other pages, the privacy and the about page and the other ancillary pages, it sounds like.
That's it. I mean, it kind of amazes me that you can create a website with such a little amount of content and get it to be so profitable at the same time. It kind of goes against everything that everyone's kind of been thinking these days.
Yeah. So let me ask you about that profitability. So before we get there, so you assigned the one page about Cartier eyeglasses, your writer wrote the content, you went to your developer who you use, it sounds like, over and over again. They knew to set up a WordPress site. Are you using WordPress on GoDaddy? Are you using a multi-site installation at HostMonster? How are you setting those up?
What I'm doing is, this is something that I might change in the future, but I just go ahead, I put about 50 sites on a HostGator. I think it's not a baby account, maybe a baby account at HostGator, and I put 50 sites on there, and I don't use any kind of multi-site thing. They're just separate sites on their own. However, to manage these sites, it's a paid service. It's called Manage WP. And what that does is it allows me to just log into one dashboard, and I can update all the plugins, the themes. When a new version of WordPress comes out, I can just click a button and all of those sites are updated. Without that, can you imagine sitting down and updating WordPress on that many sites? It would be impossible.
Yeah, no, I recently came across that Manage WP service, and it seems like a fantastic option for companies like yours that have a lot of different websites out there. Yeah, trying to sign into each one and then update and forgetting them. Here you have them all located in one dashboard, and you can select them all and click update. And most of the WordPress updates are, you know, relatively benign, except for the major one that they just did about I don't know, 6-8 months ago. And you use the exact same theme and the exact same structure and the exact same plugins on all of those websites, so you don't have to go and manually test every, you know, each one of the 600 websites you own.
Yeah, and when I install them, I use another service called WP Twin, and what that does is it creates a clone of a shell website, and I use that shell website to create all my other websites. So I don't use it. My employee uses it, but all they do is they upload that file, and it gives you all the plugins, all the theme that I use with it. It just, the about page is already set up. They just have to go in and kind of fill out the unique part of it.
Yeah.
Privacy, contact me. It's all ready there for you. So it saves a lot of time there.
Excellent. Yeah, I didn't see WP Clone listed on your list of tools that you use, so that is a very good addition to the list as well. Okay, so they create the new website. They insert your Google AdSense for Publishers script, which includes your ID. So Google knows that you own 650 websites, all using AdSense, all connected through domains, likely on the same IP address. Google has never reached out to you and said, hey, Mike, what you're doing really isn't ideal, or have they reached out to you at all?
They haven't reached out to me. They're not on the same IP address, though. They're all on different HostGator accounts. So they're all, I mean, some of them are going to be on the same IP address, but they're separated all out.
Okay, interesting. So it's the HostGator separate sites. It's called a baby account or something like that. I'm not familiar with it. So, but you are able to get different IP addresses, and they assign them however they like.
Yeah, I want to say something though. There's another group. There's another couple of guys that are doing a very similar thing that I am, and I've gotten a lot of influence. I've been influenced by them. They're called the AdSense flippers, and they actually met with an AdSense employee and went over the whole business model of having, is it wrong to have so many websites? Is this going against their terms of service, having these 1 to 5 page websites with a little bit of content on them and with AdSense on them, and they were given the go-ahead by this AdSense employee. So
Yeah.
according
Okay.
to that, they said fine, as long as it's unique content and you're
Right.
not copying from other people and you're not asking people to click on your ads and you're not going against their terms of service, it should be okay.
Excellent. All right, I did a video, I don't know, about a month or two ago, Mike, that was called "Spying on Your Competitors" and trying to figure out what they use for creating their websites. And one of the tools that I use is whatwpthemeisthat.com, and I typed in one of your websites, and it came back with the CTR theme, and it's located at ctrtheme.com. Can you describe that? What that WordPress theme is?
Sure. Well, I mean, pretty much what it is, it's a theme set up so that you can get the highest click-through rate from the visitors coming to your website. So it's at the same time, there's different options for what you want the theme to look like. There's some that are uglier that might perform better, and there's others that are going to be going to look a little nicer, but maybe have a less effectiveness.
Yeah.
Exactly. Uh, I mean, the whole idea behind it is kind of what it's called. It's the CTR theme. It's trying to get the highest click-through rate and get the most value for each visitor that comes to your site.
So the idea is you don't have to take a theme, buy a Woo theme, or buy a Thesis Framework, design your own theme, and try and figure out how best to monetize it. CTR theme is a separate entity. It's not your company. It's an entire theme, maybe a framework, I'm not sure, developed by a third-party company, and their job is to try and figure out ways to get your website a higher click-through. And they've designed this theme, this software, to help you do that.
Exactly, and it's not necessarily the best one out there. It's one that I've used that's been successful for me. I'm sure there are ones that are maybe free that you can get that are going to be very similar to it, but for me, it wasn't too expensive. I think it was $67 or something, and I can use for that $67. I can use it on all my sites.
Oh,
so
nice. Great.
it
Yeah,
was no,
I think I looked at it a while ago when I was looking at different theme software, and it's interesting if you go to the website and you look through it. What they do is they dynamically create pages in some cases where maybe they put the advertising on the left-hand side, and then on the next page they display it on the right-hand side. So you as the reader don't become blinded to seeing the same advertising in the same position throughout the entire site. Now, on your site, it's only one page, so people may not be spending a lot. But if you have a website with, 50 or 100 pages of content, now you can force the user to see the advertisements. And Google is, one of the largest sellers of advertising, and that is content in itself. So if you're coming to look at, what was your example, the money order online, there's going to be a lot of companies that are going to be aggressive in writing their advertising campaigns for money orders that are going to display on your site, and you want people to see those.
yeah, and it's like you said. I'm glad you mentioned that. It's going to help combat what they call ad blindness. So, because you're going to go to a website and you're kind of trained now, especially people that are internet savvy. You're trained to kind of ignore the ads, and that brings up another thing I'd like to point out is that when I do go after niches, I usually go for things that I don't think that people like you, Michael, will be searching for. I wouldn't do usually electronic things because usually people that are searching for electronics are a little more savvy. I wouldn't try going for internet marketing related terms because probably you're going to know what AdSense is and you're not going to click on the ads. It seems that older people tend to click on ads more. If you get the over 50 crowd, they're going to be clicking on the ads more. For some reason, housewives, women seem to click on ads more. I don't know why, but it just seems to be a trend that I found.
Yeah. So you're saying you've noticed this from your data, and do you mean that you actually have data that shows that old people and housewives are clicking more, or the websites that you develop which tend to target those like eyeglasses for older people or, whatever housewives might want are getting a higher click-through that you notice on your websites?
that information, it comes more there. I can't give you actual data to back it up, but it's kind of within the other, there's a group of people that are doing the same kind of thing that I am.
Mhm.
And within our little, within our group, that seems to be a common thread, a common idea that we've discussed with each other. So
Sure.
it's just kind of one of those things that we all kind of know, but we don't have any proof for.
Right, definitely. So, I know that a lot of people in certain niches tend to get together online and discuss certain issues. I have some search engine optimization friends that do that. I have some publishers that I get together with, some entrepreneurs that I get together with. It sounds like you have a group of people that build websites just for AdSense or primarily for AdSense and maybe flip them that you get together with as well?
Right before coming on your show, Michael, I was speaking with Josh and Trevor from WSO Testers. They're also doing the same kind of thing I am, making sites and explaining how they do it, having an open business model. And yeah, and we got together. We did an interview, which I'm going to put on my blog tomorrow.
Excellent.
And yeah, and then after we just chatted a little bit informally. So it's nice to be able to have someone that's also can understand your pains and can you can just sit down and talk about how customers are relating to different things, what kind of sites sell, what kind of sites don't. It's nice.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so we talked about your process steps from keyword research using your tools and finding the domain names to writing the article to cloning your website template that you have and modifying that to taking it live. And the last step is doing some link building. Well, actually, I should back up one step before that and ask you about search engine optimization, Mike. Do you have a preferred plugin for WordPress that you use for search engine optimization?
As far as that goes, I just make sure that I have the main keyword. It's going to be in the title of the website, of course. Of course, it's going to be in the domain name.
Yes.
It's going to be the exact match keyword. It's going to be in the post title. It's also going to be in I think it's an H2 tag underneath the post title.
Mhm.
You can go right ahead. Anyone that's interested in that, they can go and check out the Cartier site. It's all those sites are set up just like that.
Mhm.
And then it's going to be in the main keyword will be in the first sentence of the article and in the last sentence of the article. And what I do to make sure that the articles are relevant to the keyword is I'll go and search, I'll go to Google, search for that keyword, and if you scroll down the page, you'll see related searches. And in that related searches area, those are words that are related to the keyword. So when I have my article writer write the article, they use those related keywords. So sometimes I've had them use all of them before. I've had them use 5 of them before. It doesn't really seem to matter. I feel like if you use less of them, it kind of will make the article flow a little better and not be so seem like it's trying to rank for a specific keyword.
Right.
But yeah, it's as far as using special plugins and making sure it's in keywords in bold and italicized and all this, I don't get too caught up in that. Maybe I should. Maybe it's a mistake I'm making. I don't claim that my process is the best process or it's been fine-tuned,
Yep.
but it works, Michael. So it's if it works, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, so as you were talking, I went to Google. I typed in Cartier eyeglasses as two separate words. Number one that came back was your website. I looked at the source behind the code, and I see that the title is the exact keyword phrase that you mentioned. You are using the Yoast.com SEO plugin. That's Yoast.com. I use that exact same plugin on a couple of my sites. So that gives you your, I believe, a description meta tag. I'm looking for that.
It's installed. I
Yep.
don't do anything special with it,
Yep.
but yeah, it's
And
installed on
so,
there.
yeah, so I see exactly what you're talking about. It is that is the blocking and tackling of search engine optimization, as I understand it. So, I just wanted to go over that for readers so they had an idea about that, which is great. And then, of course, anybody that knows much about search engine optimization knows that that was enough to rank you for good, prior to 2008, maybe in the late 90s to 2005 or so. Nowadays, a lot of the search engines like Google and Bing look for social signals. What are the backlinks coming in from other reputable sites? Are they indexed on social media, bookmarking sites, things like that? What do you do to build backlinks to a brand new website to try and show that the website has authority, Mike?
When it comes to building links to a website, there's people out there that say that you have to wait a week, 2 weeks, a month, 3 months before you start building links.
Yeah.
I start building them immediately, actually. What I'll do, I do wait until the site has been indexed before I start building links. And the only reason I wait is because I use a tool called Easy Article Link that in order to use the tool, the site has to be indexed. So for link building, I put the site into Easy Article Link, which is a whole nother software. If you're interested in learning about it, I explain all about it on my site.
Right.
I put the domain in the software, and then when I do that, I put the article that I have on my site. I have them spin it for me. So I pay them $3 to spin the article, and they spin it at not a level. There's other spinners out there spinning programs, but they do it more at a better quality level than you would get from a program. So they spin that and they submit it to their link building system. But I then take that spun article, that raw spun article, and instead of just using it at Easy Article Link, I also use it at a Social Adder, which is a service that builds social links like Facebook likes, tweets, different bookmarks. And I have that spun article also submitted to Article Marketing Robot, and I also submit it to Unique Article Wizard. So those two ones are just going to be our article marketing services that will take the spun content and kind of make it a little more, it kind of tries to make it not be duplicate content.
Right.
So that,
yeah, so a spinning service, for those that don't understand it, it basically takes your content and looks for certain keywords in there that have another word that they can change out for that word without modifying the intent of the content. And then they change it for those words, and it looks like it's a brand new article.
Exactly. And with these different services, all these links aren't just thrown at the website at one time. Some of them come in faster than others, yes, but in general, these link building services are going to gradually build the links to the website to make it seem more natural. Because if you just slam a buttload of links to your website at once, it's probably going to get slapped.
Yeah, Google's going to look at it and say, hey, there's only 7 pages of content here, one of which is a post. The rest are pages. Why do we have 1 million links coming into here? It's probably some sort of spam.
Exactly. And what I do is I build, if you add up all the links that I build, it's probably about 500 to each website. But of those 500 links that I build, not all of them get indexed in Google. So I don't take those links and then ping them to try to get them indexed. I just leave them alone, and I let Google find some of them naturally. And as they find the links naturally, then they'll be recorded back to the sites. It just makes an unnatural system more natural.
Right. And that's what Google's looking for. They want natural links coming in. They don't want paid links with the exact same the anchor text, the text that actually shows the link coming into the website. They want to see a natural progression of links developed over time to your website.
And I wish that I could just take, for example, the Cartier eyeglasses. I wish I could just write an amazing article on Cartier eyeglasses and make something that's really great content and giving examples of different glasses and just writing something fantastic and then knowing that that will rank in the search engines without doing any of these link building processes. But for the most part, unfortunately, that won't work. You can put a great piece of content up like that, and it's just with all these link building schemes going on, it's impossible to get that to rank by
Yeah.
itself. So if I want to get these sites to rank, I have to use different link building tools.
Yep. That makes sense. Have you ever been slapped by Google for too many bad links coming in, or being notified that it appears that you have a unnatural link building process in place?
Yeah, I've had sites de-indexed before. I've had sites, I mean, sites move up and down in the search engines,
Yeah.
and I haven't gotten the unnatural link penalty. I've never gotten that from Google, but yeah, I have had sites just go away.
And what did you do
Which
in that case?
it's a write-off. It's
Yeah,
the
you
site.
write off that one site, but are you afraid that because you're using the same Google AdSense code that it's going to affect your other sites?
Am I afraid of that? No. The thing is, with Google Search and Google AdSense, they're they're separate. They're not working together with each other. So if something happens with AdSense, if your AdSense account gets banned, your 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 sites are still going to be there in the search engines. Your sites are still going to be getting the traffic. I would much prefer my AdSense to get banned than for my sites to get de-indexed, because you can always get a new AdSense account. You can't get your sites back from being de-indexed.
Isn't it difficult to get a new AdSense account because you have to show that you're an operating business and have a bank account, and I'm not sure what other hoops they make you go through?
There's a guy, his name is Spencer Hawes. He's over at Niche Pursuits. He's also the guy who created Longtail Pro, the keyword research software. He had his AdSense, he builds niche sites. He had his AdSense account banned. Now, I'm sure you've heard when Google bans AdSense accounts, they don't really tell much about why
Right.
this account's banned. But he had his account banned. I think he had different theories on why it was banned, but no one really knows. Anyways, so he posted that he posted about his banning, and then a couple months later, he came back and posted about how he had gotten a new AdSense account, put it on all the sites that had the previous AdSense on it before. He'd received payment, I guess it was a couple times during there. So the sites weren't banned from AdSense, just the AdSense account was, and he kept getting paid by the new AdSense account. And he started it with you said isn't it difficult? He just started an LLC to get it coming up again. So
Gotcha. All right. Do you do anything else, Mike, to maximize the site's earning potential, which then, affects the final sales price of the websites that you're selling?
no, I don't
Just that
do.
Google AdSense?
I just I just whatever the site's making when I list them on my sites for sale page, whatever the site's making in my AdSense account, I just go in, I put how many views,
Yep.
how much it's made in the last 30 days. I also have Google Analytics that if people want to see that, they can see Google Analytics proof. But no, there's nothing else that goes
Yeah.
on.
Okay, so on your website, Mike, you've got 100 to 200 domain name or websites, developed websites listed, and you list them by site ID. You show a niche like home or sunglasses or mineral makeup, the date you created it, the TLD, how much it's earned in the last 30 days. So, for example, site ID number 4 made $51 in the last 30 days. Where it is in the Google position, some other statistics about where it's listed. And then in some cases, you actually list if it's sold or if it's currently available and then what the price is.
Exactly.
So in that case, site ID number 4, you sold it. It was made in the 30 days prior to selling it, I assume. It made $51.43 and you sold it for $1,028.60.
That's the way this works. The sites will, if they get sold, I'll mark them off as sold. This one I actually sold on Flippa, so if it doesn't matter where it gets sold.
Hmm.
mark it off as sold there. But if you click on the click here link, then you can send me a message if you are interested in buying a site or not, and then we can talk from there.
Now, why don't you say what the domain name of the site is?
That's a good question. If I reveal the keyword for the domain, then anyone can just come in and see, oh, look, this is a fairly easy keyword to rank for.
Hmm.
I'll also build a website off of it. And so by not revealing the domains, I'm able to keep the integrity of the website safe for the future buyers, which is I want my customers to be happy. I don't want customers to buy my domains and my websites and then feel like they've been cheated or something. I want them to be completely happy with their service. So it's really important to me that these niches are hidden for
Sure.
them.
And that makes sense. But if I'm going to come in here and buy, say, site number 81, Mineral Makeup, which made $5.33 in the last 30 days, and I agree that $106.60 is a fair price for that domain, will I know the domain name before I actually pay you for it?
Usually what I'll do is if someone's interested in buying a domain and they really want to see the keyword,
Hmm.
I'll say, okay, let me be sure that you're really interested in it. Put down a 20% down payment, non-refundable, and you can see the domain. And everyone that's done that has gone ahead and bought the site. No
Yeah.
one's, I mean, it's just to make sure that you don't have people coming that just want to get free keyword research.
Right.
That's protecting it from
Yeah,
there.
that makes sense. All right. So, and especially in a $100 one, you're putting down $20 in order to take a look at it. You do have some domains that are more expensive. For example, you've got ID number 3. It's in the construction area, and it made $89.25 in the last 30 days, and you have it listed for $1,785. So if I wanted to
Exactly.
take a look at that one, I'd have to put down about $340 to take a look at it. And what it's going to be is some construction website with, and you tell me exactly what it is here. Let's see here. Where did that go? It
Everything's
has
got
it has a Google position of 3. So whatever the keyword phrase is, you're listed in Google position number 3. It has 2,900 local exact match searches at a average cost per click of $1.64 on the Google AdWords system.
exactly. So when you take that keyword and you put it into the AdWords keyword tool, it's going to be exactly that or very similar if it's changed at all. You
Yeah.
know how these things
Now,
can be.
have you ever had a case where you sell the domain name and somebody comes back to you and says, "Hey, Mike, now I'm in position 6 and the Google search volume has gone from 1,300 to 900."
The search volume. Why would the search volume change in the keywords for the keyword?
Correct. The you type in that construction phrase, and instead of the 1,300 local exact match searches in any given month, it's gone down. Let's say Google updated their database finally, and it's gone down. It's never happened to you.
Never happened.
What about a delisting? And if I bought a rank 3 and suddenly I was in rank number 1, I'm not going to complain about it, of course, and I'm going to expect the same price. But if it goes down like 5 or 6 positions, or worse yet, falls to page 2, so position number 11 through 20, have you had that happen to you in the past where somebody has purchased it and it's fallen?
What I usually do is right on the page, I tell people, okay, this is the information quoted here is going to be the last month for the site. Now, in the next month, it might go up in price and it might go down. And by price, I mean the revenue might go up, the income might go up, the income might go down. And I want to make that clear to everyone because I'm not Google. I can't control that. However, you've asked if there's ever been a big difference after a sale, I think. And yes, that has happened before. And I've tried my best to make my customers happy. I had one guy who bought a site from me. I think it was maybe $200-300 he bought it for. And I think a couple days after he bought it, the rankings went down. I think there was some kind of a Google update, and the rankings went down. So he came back to me and he was really polite, and he was just like, "Hey, I don't mean to complain, but this site should be getting X amount of money per day probably, and it's really not living up to what it is. And I said, hey, let's wait a month. Let's see what it does, because some of these sites, it says they make $10 in a month, but it's not going to be gradually every single day making a certain amount of money. You might have $5 in a day, $2 in a day, and so on.
Right.
I said, okay, let's see what it does in a month and come back to me. He came back to me a month later and showed me the AdSense. He had made some money, and I said, okay, let's take the amount of money that I'll give you the difference in another site. So if the site was supposed to make $10 in a month and it made five, I gave him a credit for another site that made $5 in the last 30 days. And he was more than happy with that. And he ended up giving me, he's going to give me a testimonial or something for that.
Right.
So he's happy.
All right. And yeah, I can understand that people oftentimes have certain expectations, even though I think you state pretty clearly on the Flippa auctions and maybe on your website that, people are buying them as is. And if you go to Flippa, one of the benefits is that I believe you give Flippa your AdSense account information so that they can sign in and verify the sales for the past few months. And so it's not you saying, here are the sales, and, because we know there are people out there that'll doctor up photographs or images to make it look like it made a lot and sell it and then, vanish. So you use Flippa a lot because they verify it. How do you do it? How do you handle it when you sell directly from your website, Mike?
Well, first I want to say with Flippa that when I do sell a site on Flippa, they do a verified AdWords, which they go in, no, sorry, not AdWords, a verified analytics, Google Analytics. So you get the Google Analytics and verified, and you get the verified AdSense. So people are going to feel much more comfortable being able to see where the traffic came from, and also being able to see the AdSense income, because you don't want to buy a site that, okay, it made $100 last month, but all that traffic was paid traffic.
Right.
Like someone paid for that and just brought it all in, and then you get the site and all the traffic's gone because no one's paying anymore. What was your question? How do I sell the site?
How do you? It's nice to have a third-party website verify certain information between the buyer and the seller. How do you handle it when you make a sale through your website directly to a end user?
A lot of the times, because of my reputation on my site and in this whole circle, and because of my testimonials and just the general community, a lot of people don't ask too many questions. They see what I list on the site, and they buy it like that. Some people want to see AdSense screenshots, and I'll provide that if people want to see that. Some people want to receive permission to see the analytics, and I'll give that to them as well. So I don't want to hide anything from them. I want them to know what they're buying when they buy it, and being able to make a smart decision, an educated decision when buying their site, because this is an investment for them. The price is based on a 20-time multiple. So 20 times the last 30 days of income is what the sites are going to go for, and that's based upon a number that the AdSense Flippers guys, AdSenseFlippers.com, it's based upon a number that they kind of created. They kind of developed that multiple, and it's based on the fact that on Flippa, sites go from anywhere from, I've had them go from 5 times to 20 times, and sites go for up to 25 times. So it varies from place to place. But when I list them on Flippa, I always list them with no reserve. So they're gonna sell. Whether they're going to sell for $10 or $3,000, they're just going to sell.
They're going to sell, yeah. So I did an interview in the past with a gentleman named Thomas Smale. You may know him. He actually used to do a lot of what you were doing, where he would buy a domain name or a website, improve it in some way by driving more monetization, and then flip it. Now he just flips domain names. He gave the advice that if your profit... if it's producing profit for less than 1 year, the typical valuation range should be 9 to 12 times the monthly profit. And if it's more than a year, then you can get valuations between 12 and 24 times monthly profit. Do you agree in general that that if a site has only made revenue for a certain number of months, a short term, that it should receive a lower multiple?
I believe that the market will determine the price, and if people are willing to pay a certain price for something, then that's the price that it should go for. If you think if you're a person that doesn't think that 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 thinks that 10 to 12 times is the maximum that you'll pay for a website that's not over a year, then that's fine. Then you can go and you can find websites, hopefully, for that price. But for what I'm creating here and the amount of work that I put in and the amount of value that I think I'm creating with my different websites, it's going to save people a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of research and a lot of pain of failing in trying to find trying to develop their own methods in doing this. That I kind of provide the price isn't just for the website, the price is also for the service at the same time. So if, yeah, I guess your question is, do I think that that's
Your answer is the market will determine the fair price, which is fair enough for me. But back to your last statement, Mike, you were saying that people are buying the service. What service are they buying? Is that the research that then goes to the article writing, which then goes to the...
they're buying that as well. That's part of it. They're also buying me in a sense. I'm for sale here. I on my website I try my best to make myself readily available to my people that buy my sites, to people that don't buy my sites. There's a chat box on my site that if I'm at my computer, I usually have it on if someone wants to come and ask a question about the niche site building process, or they have a question about buying a site, or whatever. They just want to chat. I'm usually around that, and I I'm not someone that's high on a pedestal and won't be willing to help people unless they pay me. I try to make myself that the service that I'm talking about is going to be customer service after the sale as well. People that are asking questions. Oh, Mike, I bought this site from you. It's how do I get it to make more money? Well, I'll give you the best advice I can. I don't know everything, but I'll sit down and I'll help them with that. So I guess it's customer service that you're also paying
Yep.
for.
That makes sense. And I've gone to your website a couple of times in preparation for this interview, and I've seen that little box in the corner pop up and say, hey, this is Mike from MikeFromMaine.com. Do you have any questions for me? So, I can attest to that. What, Mike, I'm just thinking, I copied out all of the domains that are listed on your website for sale. Actually, it's all the domains that are listed for sale, plus some that are sold, and I totaled them up, and it came to $1,400 per month. Now, these are the only part of the ones that you own. You're not selling all of them. So my next question is, how do you determine which ones you're selling versus which ones you're keeping for your own portfolio, or ones that are still under development and you don't want to sell them yet because you might be able to get the revenue up?
Usually try to wait a few months to let the sites mature before I put them up. I don't want to shoot myself in the foot by selling them. And I also don't want to prematurely put them up and have them get that new site bounce. Sometimes a new site will rank highly in the search engine quickly and then fall down again. So I don't want to end up selling one of those and having to deal with a disgruntled customer. I mean, that's not good for my brand, and that's not good for them.
Makes perfect sense. So why not just keep all the domain names for yourself, Mike, or all the websites for yourself? You're making $1,400 here. I'm not sure how much you're making on the other 400 plus websites that you own, but this sounds like a pretty lucrative business that you can just monetize yourself.
When I first started making the sites, the plan was that I was going to make all these websites, make it so that I was making, I don't know, I think my goal at the time was $3,000 a month. So I mean, with about $2,000 a month, I can live pretty well here in Turkey. So I just wanted to be able to have a passive income from my AdSense, build the websites up, and then just let it sit and collect the income.
Sure.
Then after seeing what other people were doing and flipping, I realized that I could, instead of having to wait for years or months or years for these sites to make money, I could just immediately flip them to a market that was really looking to buy profitable sites and take that profit and then invest it back into other ventures, whether it be building other websites
Mhm.
or trying to make an income through CPA marketing or Kindle or whatever it is. I'm always looking for another way to reinvest my profits back in other streams of income, which is a really important thing for me, developing different streams of income so that one dries up. When one and yeah, when one does dry up, that you have another thing coming back in.
Sure,
So
that makes sense. Do you have a certain portfolio of your own websites that you're keeping and won't release because they're good earners?
I don't
No.
actually, and I usually just I release the most profitable ones. I'll just release those out into the market,
Mhm.
and I don't. When I first started making the site, when I first started making AdSense sites, I remember it was difficult when I started selling off some of my babies, some of the sites that I had personally made myself, and through the learning process of making these sites, I had grown them up and seen them rank in the search engines and seen them starting to make fairly decent amounts of money every day. Those ones were hard to sell, but I figured it's you gotta let them go someday.
Definitely. So one of the things that I appreciate on your website, Mike, is that you basically have a full disclosure policy. Here are all the tools I use. If you click on my links, great. I get a commission if you buy it. But I'm also going to give you revenue updates. So every month, you do an update on your revenue. So for example, I'm taking a look at your August update right here. And you go through line item by line item what your expenses are. You paid $273 for Managed WP. You paid $5 for a service called Pingler. You paid $29 for Aweber, which is a communication email system, all the way down the line. So you had a total expense of $4,669. The biggest of which was $1,500 at Odesk, which we've talked about. You have a team of outsourcing providers that work with you. And then on that $4,669 of expenses, you made $5,733 in revenue. And you made that, and you break it all down. You use a service called Text Link Ads. You use CPA Reborn, WP Twin, Social Adder you made for some commissions using that service where people clicked on your link and signed up, all the way down to AdSense of $2,010.50. So the total profit was $1,063.72, and you actually made a note in here that that last month wasn't that great, but you were on vacation for I think 2 of the 4 weeks of
Yeah.
the month.
I'm happy to make $1,000 and be on vacation. It's
Yeah.
fine with me.
So that is truly passive income. You know, it's very similar to a lot of the domain name investors that buy domain names and park the domain names where they don't have to do any work except change the name servers to a particular service and then register with the service that the domain name is coming to them so that they can track it. Here you are truly developing websites that are like park domains where you create unique content, a unique image, and written content with multiple pages that search engines can go to. So a very similar type of relationship. But it's all passive. You're not writing new articles every month for the websites. You develop your 7-page website, you put it up there, it continues to mature, and then you sell it someday.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's
So I
exactly
also
it.
want to point out for readers that because it is passive, you know, there's no more work by Mike involved, and so the total profit is actually profit. If he were writing regular articles that would take him 5 hours per week and he values his time at $100 per hour, that might be $500 per week or $2,000 per month. And suddenly the total profit, when you include your time, is negative. So people should think about how much time do you need to devote to something as part of that when evaluating a purchase. And the multiple that you're providing, just to clarify also, when I go to Flippa and I'm looking at the website, it's the income over the past 30 days via Google AdSense. You're not using any other advertising for cost per action type ads. You make it very simple. There's one revenue source for the websites, it's Google AdSense, and here it's
Exactly.
verified. Okay. And are you have you ever had any customers complain that once you've stopped using Social Adder, SOCIALADR.com, which is used for, continuing to develop links, inbound links, that the ads stopped, ads didn't serve as much advertising, or that the ads didn't produce as much advertising?
With the sites that I sell, I don't remove them from the link building tools. So after you buy a site from me, you're still going to be receiving link building services, which is why I think that the multiple is justifiable, because you're still receiving the value of the link building even after the site's sold. So I just I don't delete them from my Social Adder account. I have a fairly high Social Adder account. So yeah, they just keep on receiving the links there. So that's not an issue.
Okay. And then on that $1,000 profit, the biggest revenue source during the month was not Google AdSense, which was $2,000, and people can go to your website and look at this. It was actually the website sales. You made $2,539. Do you remember how many websites you sold in that month?
Last month,
In August, yes.
probably, I don't know, maybe around 15. I mean, I'm not quite sure. Maybe 10, 5, 10, 15. Not many. It was just a few sales.
Sure.
It wasn't that many.
Okay, so the example that we provided of the Cartier eyeglasses that sold for $1,550, that was a good sale. That was a high sale. Most of your sales are around $500 or so, or $300.
A lot of my sales, actually, I've just started listing some smaller sites, maybe $30 to $60 on my site for sale. And what I'm trying to target there are people that are kind of on the fence and not necessarily know who I am yet, and maybe think, okay, I'm going to try out one of these smaller sites, see if it is actually getting traffic, see if it does get a few clicks from AdSense, and then hopefully they'll come back and invest in the larger sites for sale. It's a much bigger commitment. I totally understand that. You're buying a site that is expensive, but if you buy a site that's $100, it's going to have made $5 in the last 30 days. And if you expect that site to make you a lot of money, you're going to be sorely mistaken. But if you do buy one that's making, I've got some up there for sale for $50. They've made $50 in the last 30 days, and you're going to pay around $1,000 for it, and you should expect to make around $50 in the next 30 days.
Right, and you will make back your investment in 20 months. The definition of a 20-time multiple.
Exactly.
And then anything past 20 months is gravy on top of it.
That's the idea. That's the best situation that could come out for the buyer, is that they would make back the money within 20 months, and then everything else for the rest of their life would be profit on top of that. So
okay. So
they could flip the site, or they could also flip the site themselves.
Right. Or they could add some additional advertising and some additional content and maybe flip it. But there is an inherent risk in buying this, because Google could put forth a patch or an update on their algorithm tomorrow, and all of these websites could fall off.
There's inherent risk in any website that you buy. So in any business that you're doing, there's going to be risk involved. So if you're not willing to take that risk, then I would say don't buy a website. I mean, if it's something that you feel like you want to do and maybe develop and learn how to build these sites, then I think it's a great example, a great way to get into niche site building.
Yeah. So what do if you were to look back and your brother or sister or best friend would come to you, Mike, and say, I'm a potential buyer, I want to get into these websites, what kind of due diligence would you recommend they do before they buy a website like CartierEyeglasses.net or some other website off of Flippa? What due diligence would you ask them to do?
I'd say make sure you go and check out the AdSense. Make sure that it's, along with the AdSense, you look at the analytics, because you want to make sure that the traffic sources are actually coming from Google. If you look there and they're coming from other websites or it looks kind of fishy, then it's not going to be an optimal purchase. All my sites, the traffic is mostly coming from Google, sometimes Yahoo a little bit, but most of the time it's just SEO generated traffic that's free. So you want to just make sure that that traffic is going to keep on coming.
Yeah. Okay. So make sure it's good traffic coming in. So you want to look at the referrals of it and make sure it's Google or other search engines. And look at that and verify the revenue figures.
Yeah, you just want to make sure that that's pretty much what I'm saying is you want to make sure someone's not just buying traffic
Yeah.
and sticking it in there.
Okay.
And because anyone can just buy traffic and build up an AdSense revenue for the last 30 days and fake it like that. And then once you have it, the traffic's gone and the revenue's gone.
Definitely. So what about people being in other countries? You know, you're in Turkey. If somebody actually wants to have if somebody has an issue with a website, there's not much recourse besides, if you're willing to walk away from your website, mikefrommaine.com, and, you're not in the Better Business Bureau in the United States. You don't have a U.S. address that people could, go to or serve papers to. Is that a concern that people should have?
I'm quite available through Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, on my website, through Skype. If you're worried about something like that, I would go ahead and look at the different testimonials that people have written about me. If you want me to put you in contact with a past buyer, I can do that just to kind of make sure that those are real. My whole business here is I don't want anyone to go away from a sale with a sour taste in their mouth. I want if you buy a site from me, that's great. I want you to be happy with it. If you don't buy a site from me, go ahead and just learn how to build them yourself. I'm just trying to help people out is pretty much what I'm trying to do here. And by helping people out, I do make a commission from it. But at the same time, I enjoy doing it, which is one thing that I think is really important here. Is I enjoy that I've been there where I didn't know how to make money online. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what SEO was, link building, all that. But I've gone from that and I've come to here where I feel confident with my system. And anyone who wants to learn it, come and email me, message me. I'm here. I'm available.
Great. All right, and those are some good due diligence tips. I completed a video just a couple weeks ago about doing due diligence on domain names, on websites, on website services, and that was one of them that I recommended also. I'm glad you brought it up, Mike. Look at the testimonials, go to the websites, contact the owners of the websites that have bought from Mike, and ask them if they would buy from Mike again. That is a great way to determine if a supplier or a salesperson is reputable. And of course, being available and through multiple channels is another great way. Mike, so final question for you. What plans do you have to scale or diversify your business, mikefrommaine.com, in the future?
Right now, I'm trying to get into other things. Along with building niche websites, I'm trying to figure out how to do some CPA offers, buying paid traffic and sending it to different lead generation offers. So I'm trying to find different ways so that if something does happen and Google does make the update to the search engines and something does happen where my business goes boom and just falls off the face of the earth, I'd like to have some kind of alternative method, which I think that everyone should be doing. At the same time, right now I've just completed my third show episode on mikefrommaine.com. Hopefully, Michael, I mentioned to you before, I'd like to pick your brain after the show and find out your secrets from you. But as far as niche sites go, I've got a huge inventory of sites right now that I'm going to try to focus on selling. And I'll keep on building niche sites in the future, but at the rate that I was going at before, I was building 100, 150 sites a month. I'll probably bring that down to about 20 to 50 sites a month, just to keep my expenses, get them down a little lower. As you can see, I spent $5,000, or what was it, $4,000 in expenses in August. So I kind of need to go back to my system and reduce my expenses just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and I should also point out, just in fairness, July not being a great month for you in terms of profit. I'm sorry, August. If you go back in Mike's archives, you can look at July 2012, where he had made $15,000 in total revenue and had expenses of $2,216. 92% of his profit was driven by website sales. So clearly, when you're focused on selling the assets that you have, you can significantly increase your income. You stated that that was your best month ever. So sort of banding them.
And I'd like to point out one of the keys to selling a lot of those sites was that I was readily available to my customers on my website. So in August, I was on vacation, so I wasn't readily available, and you can see that sales dropped. Now, back in September, I've been more available, and I've sold a lot more sites than I did in the previous month. So I think it's anyone that's trying to do something like this, that wants to set up a page where they have websites or domains that they want to sell, make sure that you're readily available to your customers, because they're really going to want to talk to you before they'll feel comfortable making a sale.
Definitely. Great advice. Mike Thomas, owner of MikeFromMaine.com. Thank you for coming on the show today, sharing your knowledge of building, monetizing, and selling websites. And thank you for being a domain Sherpa.
You're very welcome, Michael. It's a pleasure.
If you have a follow-up question, please post it in the comments below, and we'll ask Mike to come back and answer as many as he can. Be sure to go to MikeFromMaine.com, and you can read and watch his tutorials. He's got a step-by-step niche website guide. He walks you through how to choose a domain name, how to set up a niche website quickly, writing the content, finding an article writer for the $4.44 that he's paying on Odesk, and also how to build links back to your website. He can be found on Twitter at Mike from Maine, on Facebook at Mike from Maine, and if you go to his website, you'll probably get one of those little pop-up windows, and you can chat with him also. That's it. Thanks so much for sticking with me, Mike. It was a long interview, but packed full of really useful information.
I hope you're able to get something out of it.
Definitely. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.